Hello everyone and welcome to chapter 12 lesson 3 table constraints. Here we are going to discuss two types of constraints, not null and check constraints. Table constraints are used to enforce rules on the data in a table when a row is inserted, updated or deleted. The constraint must be satisfied for the operation to succeed. The constraint also prevents dropping the table if there are dependencies from other tables. The constraint ensures the consistency and integrity of the database. You can define a constraint during creating the table or after creating a table by using alter table statement. There are 5 types of table constraints: not null, check constraint, unique constraint, primary key, and the last one, which is foreign key constraint. There are 2 ways to define table constraints while creating a table. The first way, after specifying the column list, you can specify the constraints information, constraint keyword, the constraint name, the constraint type, and the column where you want to create the constraint. The second way to define a constraint is providing the constraint information directly after the column definition. After each column definition here, you can specify the constraint definition, constraint name, and then constraint type. Here, in the second way, there is no need to specify the column that you want to create the constraint, because this constraint will be created for this column. It follows exactly the column definition. But here in the first syntax, or in the first way, you define the constraints after listing all columns. So you have to put here on which columns you want to create the constraint. The first type of table constraint is not null constraint. Not null constraint ensures that the column contains no null values during DML operation. If you don't specify not null for a column during creating a table, that means the column can accept null values. For example, create table emp_retired. It contains here 4 columns: emp num, number of 3, ename varchar2 40, email varchar2 50, dept id number 3. Here we specify that the column ename is not null. Other columns can accept null values during DML operation. If you try to do insert statement in this table, insert into emp_retired, and you specify values 1 will be used for column emp number, null will be used for ename, test@test.com will be used for the email, and the last value will be used for the last column, which is dept ID. So here we are passing a null value for a column defined as not null. Oracle in this case will generate an error: insert into emp retired values, cannot insert null value into ename, because ename is defined as not null. So this is the first type of constraint, which is not null. The second type of table constraint, which is check constraint. Check constraint can be used to define a condition for a column. The condition must be evaluated to true for the DML operation to succeed. For example, create table emp new. It contains 5 columns. Here in the salary column, we define a constraint: salary number 6, check salary between 500 and 24,000. This condition must be evaluated to true for the DML operation to succeed. So if you try to insert a statement, insert into emp_new values, 1 will go to the first column, Sam to the second column, which is the name, the email to the email column, 400 to the salary. What is the condition? Salary between 500 and 24,000. So here Oracle will return an error, or 02 to 90, check constraint violated. If you put instead of 400 500, the record will be inserted because the check constraint returns true in this case. The same previous example can be rewritten using syntax 2. In syntax 2, after defining the column list, we can define the constraints. Constraint, name of the constraint, check salary between 500 and 24,000. You can provide a name for the constraints as in the above example, or you can let Oracle generate a name by using sys_cn format as in the previous example. Here in this example, we give the constraint a name, which is emp_sal_c, while in the previous example, we didn't specify any name for the constraint. In this case, Oracle will name the constraint as sys_c and then a number. So after creating the table, if you try to insert a statement and provide 400 salary, Oracle will return an error, check constraint violated. In this lesson, we learned not null and check constraints. I hope this video was informative for you, and thank you for watching.